Welcome to episode 3 of the Mildly Unstable podcast. Please excuse the poor sound quality. Ray was sitting too close to the microphone. We will take care of this problem in the future. Disclaimer. This episode talks about topics including eating disorders, suicidal ideation, grief, depression, and undiagnosed mental illness. Viewer discretion is advised.
Welcome to episode 3 of
Mildly Unstable,
the podcast. I'm Ray.
And I'm Hannah.
And we are back today with more absolute chaos.
Of course.
More chaos. We did a take earlier before to try to start the podcast, and it was literally, hi!
I completely forgot what I was saying.
And then,
we just stared at each other.
Just absolute silence. We just stared at each other for a while. How's your latte?
It's good.
I made Hannah a Nutella latte. It was an iced latte, but there's no ice in it because I didn't have ice. So I just made the espresso with the Nutella, and then I put milk, dairy-free because I'm lactose intolerant, and then I stuck it in the fridge for a while.
I love it. And I'm not normally an espresso person.
No?
Like, I'm usually a true cold brew.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So, what did I show you before this episode, Hannah?
You showed me a new cover that you're
working
on.
Yeah,
that is sick.
I redid a cover of an old one. I did that a long time ago, actually. Mm-hmm. I did a cover of Trees by 21 Pilots. I can tell you the exact date. Give me a second. I put it on my channel when I first started making covers, and all I had was a microphone, an XLR to USB cord, and Audacity, and that was all I had. I didn't have any good, it wasn't even a good microphone.
Yeah.
It wasn't good equipment. I got it for I think it was $17.
Oh my God.
At Walmart.
Okay.
It was a terrible microphone. And I started making covers on my YouTube channel because I just really, I always wanted to make covers, and I started my YouTube channel to do that. So, let's see. When did I make...
That makes sense, though, because I remember last time you were like, I'm going to make another cover of this song, and I was like,
yeah.
I feel like you've done that before.
Yeah, I did. So, I made this cover. Let's see, when I uploaded it. It's a terrible cover. I uploaded it, let's see. It says October 6th, 2016.
Okay.
So I made it a long time ago. That's about 5 years ago now. I started making covers just because I had always wanted to make covers. And I want to say it's actually... No. What was the first cover I ever made? Let me see. I think the first cover I ever made was This Is Gospel. Mm-hmm. And it's awful. It's an awful cover. So there's that. And then 2 covers later, I made a Green Day cover and a 21 Pilots cover. I made Trees, and it's significantly low quality. It is just an absolute train wreck. It's not good. Most of my earlier covers are not amazing. I think the first time I made a cover that I was actually proud of was Ode to Sleep. That's another 21 Pilots cover. It was after the first real cover, not musical theater, that I made that I was really proud of was Ode to Sleep. Before that, I made Farmer Refuted.
Okay.
And I layered my voice on top of my voice. I thought that was really cool. And then I didn't start getting good at making covers until recently. So I would probably say the cover that really kind of turned my channel around was a remake of Migraine by 21 Pilots, which was an earlier cover I made. It's a remake of it, and that was probably the first cover that I was like, okay, I have my footing now. It took me... That was probably a year or 2 ago. So it took me a good 3 or 4 years to really find my footing for my YouTube channel.
That's fair. Music production is It's a pain. It's hard.
You know, it's not easy.
Especially when you come from, like, self-learning. It's difficult.
Yeah, I learned everything myself. I didn't take any classes. I just kind of, like, went on YouTube and, like, looked up how to do stuff.
Which is super impressive in and of itself.
Yeah, and I know we talked about AJR on the last podcast. I said that one of the guys in the band does all their producing. I watched over quarantine. He did live streams of
That's cool.
breaking down how he produced the songs. So I just went through and like watched all of them.
Yeah.
And I just kind of like picked up things here and there, and then all of a sudden like my covers got a lot better.
Yeah.
Like so I just made the Trees cover. I made a remake of it, and it's the best cover I've ever made.
Sick.
Absolutely the best cover I've ever made. 100%. Like, I've never made a better cover than that.
Yeah.
So, we wanted to talk about healthy eating this week, because I started Noom, which for those of you who don't know, Noom is a weight loss program that uses psychology to help you maintain your weight loss.
Yes.
And I've been doing it since last Wednesday I started. No, last Thursday. So it's been a little less than a week, and I'm down a pound, which is not a huge deal, but it's something. It's better than nothing.
Yeah.
So that's cool. I like it a lot. I have struggled in the past with disordered eating. I struggled with bulimia at one point in my life, and more than one point in my life. And I was doing Weight Watchers for a while, and Weight Watchers was making my disordered eating a lot worse.
Yeah, I find that they don't really base it off of people who have a history of dieting and like bad disordered eating. They're just kind of like, this is a person walking in for the first time, wanting to lose weight for the first time in their life, and it doesn't work for a lot of people.
It wasn't super helpful. They give you, for those of you who don't know how Weight Watchers work, they give you a certain amount of points a day, and every food has a point value, and you track your points every day, and you go to a meeting every week, and the meetings enough were to make me not want to do it.
Yeah, it's kind of like a bunch of strangers you don't know.
It was like Alcoholics Anonymous.
Yeah, you like sit in a circle. I remember the last Weight Watchers meeting I ever went to. One lady cried because she ate over on her points the day before because she ate 2 corn on the cob.
Yeah.
And I was like, that
it was like
should not be here.
It was
this
ridiculous.
Does not feel good.
No, it was crazy because like I would sit in a circle with these people I had never met, and they were like, I had cake, I'm going to hell. And it was like, what is happening? So a lot of it was like, Weight Watchers felt very much like there's a lot of foods you shouldn't be eating, you can't eat them.
Exactly.
But Noom is very much like eat things in moderation, and it felt like it changed the way I was seeing it, because with Weight Watchers I felt like I had to cut foods out, and I felt like I could never have them again.
I feel like the point system really takes place of the counting calories type mentality, and for some people it works. Like my cousin, she was on it and she lost like 40 pounds and she loves it.
My mom lost 80 pounds on Weight Watchers, which is crazy. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's awesome. But if it works for
my
you,
mom isn't prone to disordered eating. I am.
Yeah.
So when I was seeing that like I had to cut out all these foods, my brain was saying, okay, well, I won't go over my points if I don't eat.
Yeah, I thought the same thing while I was on it. Absolutely.
I was like, I get 30 points a day, and this food is 15 already.
Yeah.
So I'm just better off not eating.
Yeah.
And that was not a good way to do it. But with Noom, I've found that it's helping me a lot, because it's like, okay, you could still eat these things, but only have a certain amount. And like, you know, like, if you want to replace, they have a whole bank of recipes on the app too,
which is awesome,
which is really cool. But the best thing about it is that I don't feel like they give you a certain amount of calories you can have in a day, and they do tell you that you're gonna go over your calories, like it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
But something about it, I think just the way it goes about it is very much like, I don't feel like I have to, like, never enjoy eating again.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, they say, like, you shouldn't be eating like a rabbit. And I feel like with Weight Watchers, I felt like I had to eat like a rabbit.
Yeah.
Like, I felt like I had to stick to certain foods, and there were foods I could just never have again.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean? And it was frustrating. It was very frustrating.
I feel like it's also very intense because, like, with Noom, your accountability is what you see on the app.
Yeah.
And what the app is telling you. Whereas with Weight Watchers, your accountability is going in and being weighed by a stranger.
Yeah.
Which, for somebody with disordered eating and a history of
That-
issues with body image, is very
That was rough.
harmful.
That was rough. When
Yeah.
I would have to go in and somebody else would weigh me and tell me how much I weighed.
Yeah.
And they'd be like, okay, well, you gained this many pounds. And every time it was like, it destroyed my mood for the day.
Oh, absolutely. Especially if you went in the morning.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, I remember sitting outside for, like, hours of a time being like, I'll go into the next meeting, I'll go into the next one.
Yeah.
And then just never going in.
Yeah.
And going home and being like, yeah, I went, I lost this many.
Yeah.
And just, like, brushing it off.
That's the best part of Noom is you weigh yourself.
Yeah.
Like, they tell you to buy a scale. I bought a scale. I have it on the other side of my dorm. And I weigh myself every morning. They tell you as soon as you wake up, get out of bed, go to the bathroom, and weigh yourself.
Yeah.
And that's what I've been doing, and it's made me feel a lot better because I don't have somebody else being like, so you gained weight. And it's like, that, I don't have anybody else doing that. And now, thankfully for me, it's just, okay, I know I gained this much. I know I gained this much weight, or I know I lost this much weight, or I know I stayed the same, and nobody else knows about it.
Yeah.
So I don't feel like there's somebody secretly judging me. It's just, this is information that I know and nobody else knows, and nobody else, I'm not going to tell anybody else about it.
It's none of their business.
And it's nice that I could just keep my weight to myself, and I don't have to worry about somebody being like, okay, well, you weigh this much now, and that's like this much more than you were last week, and it's like...
Exactly. And then having to,
So.
like, sit in a confessional circle being like,
Yeah.
this is why I gained weight, and this is why I feel this program isn't working for me. With people who, for some of them, they've lost 120 pounds on
Yeah.
this program. And they're like, well, why wouldn't it work for you? It's very judgmental. Even though they don't mean it to be,
Yeah.
it can very much be, like, kind of a circle of judgment.
Yeah,
You know?
Yeah, and Noom actually, they give you little lessons every day about, like, eating. Like, I learned about caloric density, which means when foods have a low caloric density, that means they're lower in calories. And they will fill you up quicker. So you could eat more of them because they have more water in them, so they'll fill you more.
Okay.
High caloric density foods have higher calories, and they don't fill you as much. So you could eat a lot of it and still be hungry.
Yeah.
So stuff like red meat is a big high caloric density.
Really?
Yeah, red meat has a
Okay.
high caloric density. So there's green, yellow, and red foods. On Noom, there's green, yellow, and red foods. And they're not like good, okay, or bad.
Yeah.
They're like low caloric density, somewhere in the middle, and high caloric density.
Okay.
And on the app, I'll show you, they give you a bank for each category of food.
Yeah.
So it's not like you can never have, like, a dessert. So it says to you, like, I'll show you. So you log your meals, and it gives you an analysis. It gives you a breakdown
Okay.
of your green, yellow, and red foods. So I get today 448 calories worth of red foods. And I had 240 calories of red foods today because I had egg and cheese on an English muffin. And that has a high caloric density.
Yeah.
Yellow foods, nothing. And then green foods, are foods that they don't give you a certain amount you can have. They tell you you can have as much as you want, and then it adjusts the other foods accordingly.
I like that a lot because it takes the pressure off of like, oh my god, I have to stay in the green.
Yeah.
I have to stay in the green.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Like for yellow foods, so red foods it says limit your portions, and yellow foods it says eat moderate portions. And for yellow foods, which is like foods in between green and red, it gives you 806 calories to eat. And then green foods, it doesn't matter. Like I had an egg and cheese on an English muffin because I woke up at 2. Which I shouldn't have done because I had a meeting at noon. And I slept right through it. And I emailed my advisor. And my advisor, so my freshman year of college, I was severely suicidal. Yeah. I was depressed. I had lost my cousin 3 months before I started college. So I was severely depressed. Yeah. And I was suicidal because my meds weren't working, and I found that every time my meds are not, I always know when my meds aren't working because I'm suicidal. When I become suicidal, that is how I know my meds aren't working. That's the only time I ever feel that way or ever have those kind of thoughts is when my meds aren't working. So freshman year of college, my advisor, I'm a psychology major, so my advisor was a therapist for like 40 years. Yeah. So freshman year, I got really close with my one professor, and him and my advisor used to work together a lot. So like once a week, they would have a like well-being array meeting with each other, and they would like talk about where I'm at. Yeah. And where they think I'm at, and what they could do to help me. Because I was on a watch list. I was on a campus watch list. Yeah. So all my professors knew that if I was struggling in class, that I probably needed some extra help because I wasn't doing that well. And I was on a Res Life watch list. Yeah. So like a couple times a week, it was like Monday, Wednesday, or like Tuesday, Thursday, the RAs would knock on my door and do a wellness check. Yeah. And they would be like, hey, and a lot of the time it wasn't like an actual like formal thing. Yeah. It's them being like, hey, how's your week going? Is there anything you want to talk about? Like what's going on? And I really appreciate that about my school because at that time I needed that. Yeah. And that was good for me. So I was on this watch list, and my advisor got a big look into where I was at and what my head was like. So she would reach out a lot, and she would be like, is there anything I can do to help? Spring semester, my grades tanked. Yeah. Because fall semester I was depressed, but I still had a 3.3 GPA. Spring semester, I was suicidal. I was more than depressed. Yeah. And my grades were a nightmare, and my GPA went from a 3.3 to like a 2.4. Yeah, which is a huge drop. That's almost semester. A full point. Yeah. And it was a nightmare. It was horrible. And then I got my shit together during quarantine. I used that to get my mental health together and to be like, all right, well, I can't live like this for the rest of my life. And now everything is closed. There is literally nothing else for me to do except get my life together and figure my shit out and work on my mental health. So that's what I did. And sophomore year was better, but it wasn't great. It was better. My grades weren't stellar, but I went from a 2.41 to a 2.85. Yeah, which is also pretty big in one semester. Yeah, once you drop your GPA, it's very difficult to crawl it back. But then spring semester, my ADHD, I don't know what happened. It got so much worse because I wasn't treating it yet. Okay. And I hadn't even been diagnosed yet. Oh, really? So it got that's worlds worse, and I could not focus. I was doing really bad on my homework. Yeah. And then at the end of the semester, I went on Vyvanse for my ADHD. So I take that every morning. Yeah. And it's been helping me a lot. And I personally think, and I got 2 C's, a B, and an A. And my GPA really wasn't that much affected. It was a 2.84, and I think it's a 2.86.
Yeah.
So it wasn't a big change, but it was still up.
Yeah.
And I'm in a good place mentally. I'm probably the happiest I've ever been right now.
That's awesome.
And I'm doing great. My ADHD is being treated. I'm managing it very well.
Yeah. It's very difficult, especially as an older woman, to get a diagnosis of ADHD.
Yeah.
So it's awesome that you reached out.
And,
like, hey!
it was crazy because I was so disconnected from being a female because, I'm non-binary.
Yeah.
And I was so disconnected from being a female that I didn't even think of, this is something that goes undiagnosed in people with the female anatomy a lot. So when I got diagnosed, it was one of the best things that ever happened to me. Literally, ADHD and bipolar diagnosis are the best things that ever happened to me. That's why I have a little happy face, sad face tattoo for my diagnosis. So I started treating my ADHD, and now I can focus great. I have no issues. Yeah. I have no issues.
I feel like ADHD is one of those things. I've had it, I don't remember a moment in my life where I have not been diagnosed. I've been diagnosed since very, very young.
Yeah.
And not treating it is one of the worst things.
Yeah.
Some people
because it gets progressively worse as time goes on.
And if you look at the statistics, they just did a study that I read about the other day out of Canada. 69% of teenagers with ADHD are more likely to begin substance use at a young age.
Yes.
And adults with ADHD are 50% more likely to struggle with substance abuse at some point in their life.
I have read that statistic. Yeah.
It's scary.
It's rough. So I started treating it, and so I was my advisor was there through all of that. So I told her that I'm doing really well. And I told her that this year I think I'm really set up for success.
That's awesome.
And then I sleep through this meeting today, and I get 3 emails from her trying to make sure I'm okay.
Yeah.
And I felt so bad. My alarm just didn't go off.
Yeah,
and I slept till 2. It was not intentional. I was going to wake up at 10.
Yeah.
And I slept till 2 because it runs in my family. We could sleep the whole day.
I'm the same way.
And I slept through it. So I emailed her. And I could tell she was like, are you okay? What's wrong? And I emailed her back, and I was like, I'm perfectly fine. My alarm did not go off. I slept through our meeting. I'm really sorry. What did you want to talk about? And then she emailed me, and that was it. And
that's awesome.
But she was like, I'm glad you're okay. I get worried. Because she moms me a lot.
Yeah.
My advisor moms me a lot. She's always like there was a day where after my 8 a.m., I walked out of class, and she saw me sitting in one of the lounges in the building, and she was like, so are you going to eat breakfast, or...
I love
And I was
that.
like, yes, I'm just finishing something. And she was like, okay, because you need to eat. And I was like, I'm going to eat. So she moms me a lot. One second. I'm going to grab my sparkling ice.
Yeah,
they should sponsor us.
They really should still sponsor us. I feel like it's really important to be able to have an advisor.
Oh my God,
sees that.
I thought you were about to say, I think it's really important for us to get sponsored.
I also think
that's sparkling ice.
Sparkling ice, hand me my check. Thank you.
Yeah.
But so I went through a very similar thing with losing a family member. I lost my mom. Mm-hmm. Super suddenly,
that wasn't expected, right?
No.
Okay.
So, all right, let me give you the rundown.
Mm-hmm.
She started feeling not too great. Mm-hmm. End of November, beginning of December 2019. We were like, all right, something's not right. You should get checked. Her balance is off. We're like, all right, it's nothing weird. She was irritable, but we were like, she's stressed. My mom, I have a younger sister with autism. Mm-hmm. Love her to death, but it's stressful on my mom. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So my mom also worked in a school where she was a one-on-one with kids with severe cerebral palsy.
Okay.
So kind of like a group home setting, but in an actual school.
Yeah.
She was bouncing between being a nurse and doing healthcare checks with the kids.
Okay.
So we were like, oh, she's stressed.
Yeah.
Absolutely understandable. It's a hard job.
I wonder if the mic just picked that up. That was loud. I just cracked my neck really loud.
I'll spare the nitty gritty,
mm-hmm.
but essentially, she ended up being diagnosed with small cell lung cancer.
Okay.
And within the day she was admitted to the hospital to the day she passed, it was 9 days.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So was it stage 4?
Yeah.
Wow.
And the hospital did like a really bad job at keeping us informed.
Yeah.
Like, I want to call it malpractice, but under New Jersey law, it's very...
It's
dicey.
Yeah.
You know, but none of my advisors seemed to care. Like, her funeral was on the day that my classes for that upcoming semester were due to be submitted. Like, I was supposed to register for them. And my ADHD was also super bad. I had stopped taking my medication.
Yeah.
And I was just, like, going through it. I had just started therapy with my new therapist.
How's that?
It's wonderful now.
You like her?
At this point, she had no idea this was happening.
Okay.
So I was, like, still dealing with it.
Yeah.
Not on my own. I had my
but it's important to have a good therapist.
Exactly.
It's very important. I've learned that.
Yeah. And I went in, and I was like, please, like, I was basically on my hands and knees. Like, let me, just put me in an online class. I can't not be in class. And they were like, no, I'm sorry, we can't do that for you.
Yeah.
They were like, maybe sign up for summer or something. We can't help you.
Yeah.
And I was like, I can provide you with documentation.
Under extenuating circumstances, they should have.
And they had done that for plenty of people before, for much smaller reasons, and they were just like, nope, sorry, can't do it.
Yeah.
Where
was this?
It's the college I still go to.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So now, thankfully, like, I found a good advisor who's super awesome and who, like, gets it. And I don't think they were trying to be as, like, get out of my office, like, pushing me away as they were.
Yeah.
But at the time, it definitely felt like it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
My advisor has been very helpful, and I adore her. So she was there through my whole situation, the whole thing. She was very empathetic. She used to, around the anniversary or his birthday was usually during the spring semester, she would call me into her office and she'd be like, how we feeling today? And I would be like, not great.
Yeah.
The 6-month anniversary happened during the fall semester.
Oh, okay.
And it was going to be the first Christmas without Daniel.
That's hard.
And she pulled me into her office. It was December 2nd. It was 6 months after he died. And she pulled me into her office and she was like, where are we at? And I was like, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not okay right now. And she was like, what can I do? And she was very like, I was like, I don't know. And she kind of gave me advice on grieving. And she was like, just let it happen. She was like, just let the process take place. And she was like, but when you need help, you need to ask for it. And I was like, okay. So when February came and I had a night where I really thought that was going to be it. I thought that was going to be the night that I did it. I thought that was going to be the end. And I woke up the next morning. I had a friend who I'm not friends with anymore. Actually, you know who. Talk me down.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Talk me down. And it was the best thing he could have done at that time. Yeah. And he sat with me for a few hours and just talked me down. And then I woke up the next morning and I was like, I can't keep doing this. So I told my parents and I said, I'm going to start looking for a new therapist because I wasn't in therapy at the time. It's like, I'm going to start looking for a new therapist and I'm going to up my meds. And they were like, anything you need to do, we are there. We will help. And I was like, okay, thanks. So I said, over spring break, I'm going to see a bunch of different therapists. I'm going to see who I like.
Yeah.
And I'm going to raise my meds. And spring break hit, and then we never went back to school.
Yeah, COVID hit.
So then I was like, there's literally nothing I can do except get my life together.
Exactly.
So I started seeing a new therapist. I waited a while to see a new therapist, though, because I knew that if I was in a place where therapy wouldn't work, like I wasn't in the place where I could do the work that I needed to do in therapy, then it would be a waste of time.
Exactly.
So basically what I did was No, it's fine. Basically, what I did was I started doing my own version of therapy. My older sister, God bless my older sister, they're the greatest person in my life. They graduated with a double major in psych and sociology, so they have a very good understanding of mental health.
Yeah.
Plus, they've been through their own stuff.
Yeah.
So we started going for walks around the lake by my house
That's
every
wonderful.
day, and we would process trauma, and we would talk about everything that was on my mind. We would go through all the things that I had been ignoring, and we would take a serious look at it. And it was while I was getting outside and getting fresh air and getting exercise.
And talking to somebody who you're incredibly
and talking
comfortable
to
with.
somebody who I have never felt uncomfortable talking to.
That's so important.
And that helped me a lot. And I raised my meds. I started doing yoga.
I love that. Yoga's very
I started just going on YouTube, and I did some yoga in my bedroom. I would just do like little stretches.
Yeah.
I started reading self-help books. I read books about communication and recovering from trauma. I'm an SA survivor, so I processed that trauma during that time, and I got a lot of books on
that is wonderful.
You know, like recovering from, you know, that situation.
That trauma. All the layers of trauma that come with that.
Yeah, and it was the best thing I could have done. Quarantine's definitely the best thing that ever happened to me. I started working out. I lost 30 pounds during quarantine.
That's awesome.
I gained it back since then, but at the same time, like, I'm not really that mad about it.
Yeah, like, why?
It was a good thing to happen to me, and I got my shit together, and my advisor was there through it all. I was having weekly meetings with her.
That's incredible.
Even over the summer, she was meeting with me every week.
Oh my gosh.
Because
that, like, melts my heart.
My advisor sets aside time, no matter what she has going on, to make sure I'm okay.
That is
And this semester
wonderful.
I told her, I was like, I don't know if we need to do a weekly meeting anymore. Like, I'm okay. I'm really happy.
Yeah, like, you're in a good place.
And she was like, it would make me feel better if we still did a weekly meeting.
That's
and I was
fair.
like, okay, so we still do a weekly meeting.
You're like, we'll do it for you, babe.
She's very nice. She's a very good person. Her name is Dr. Flater, and she's just one of my.
I've met her. She is
one of my
sweetheart.
favorite people on this campus.
Truly a sweetheart.
Just the coolest. And she's helped me out with a lot. And it was funny because she helped me with stuff outside of school. Like, when I was dating my ex, I would cook dinner a lot. And I told her I was making chicken marsala, and she was like, I will be on Teams. If you need help, call me and I'll talk you through it.
That is
And I was
iconic.
like, she's this Italian, and she was like, I'm an Italian grandmother. I'm obviously going to offer to help you. And I was like, that's very sweet. And she was very nice. I ended up doing it by myself. I made chicken masala by myself. But she's great, and it's nice that there are a lot of times that I talk to her outside. It's nice that I have a relationship with her outside of academic advising.
Absolutely.
There are times when she'll be like, how's your sister? How are your parents? And like,
That is
we
wonderful.
talk about like my relationship with my mom, which has gotten so much better. And
That's
like,
good to hear.
you know, like all this stuff, and it's been really helpful that she's been there. And circling back to the healthy eating, I told her that I was doing this, and she was like, you know, if you need motivation, there's this book that I read that's about like motivating yourself through trying to get healthy, because it can be really hard. And she's just so supportive, and I'm really glad that I'm doing the healthy eating, because I feel like mentally I'm in the best place I've ever been, so I want to make myself feel better physically too.
Yeah, I
want to take care of my physical health as well.
Absolutely. I feel like those very much tie into one another. Like, you can't work on your physical health
Absolutely.
without tackling that mental
You
barrier
need to be in the right place to take care of yourself physically.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah,
I couldn't
got my
agree
little
more.
scale. It's blue.
It is
I
blue.
weigh myself every morning. Like I said, I'm down a pound from last week. I've
is
seen it
awesome.
progressively going down. Which is good. I haven't gone over my calorie budget yet, which I'm assuming I will.
Yeah, it happens, you know.
But also every now and then I'll have like a cookie, and then I won't log it because I'm just going to let myself have this cookie.
This is just for me.
It's just one cookie.
It's just for me.
But I don't eat dessert very much already.
I'm assuming I'm not a big sweets person.
But my problem is I really like red meat. So that has a lot of calories. So
Yeah.
I've been switching from eating steak to eating like turkey or fish.
If you need a
fish is
salmon
really good.
recipe, I have a good salmon
Yeah?
recipe. I got you,
Actually,
dog.
I was feeling, I'm 3 months out of a breakup.
Yeah.
And I was feeling kind of down, and I was kind of feeling lonely the other night, and I texted Hannah. I was like, hey, I kind of want to get out of my dorm. She was like, I'm on my way. And we went to Hibachi, and I logged the lobster tail
Yeah.
on the Hibachi, and it was in the green. I was in the green, so it was very
Really?
healthy. Yeah, which is good because, like, once I start, I haven't gotten paid for my new job yet because there's like a minimum amount of hours for the first paycheck.
That makes sense.
So, I'm getting paid the next paycheck.
Okay.
So once I get paid, like, ShopRite, Aldi, Weiss, they always have sales on lobster.
They do.
So I could get one
Yeah.
steamed, and I like it without the butter. So what
Me
I
too.
do is I get the low sodium soy sauce, and I just dip it in that, and it's amazing.
If
It's
you
really
ever need
good.
an Aldi, buddy, I am obsessed with that grocery store.
Actually, Noom actually recommended that when you go grocery shopping, you go with a buddy who knows that you're trying to be healthy.
I will go with you.
So
100%.
you can be my grocery shopping
I
buddy.
love grocery shopping
Because
with
I
people.
need somebody that I'm gonna be like, let's buy these cookies. I need somebody that's gonna be like, or we could buy fun Greek yogurt flavors. Like I
Yes.
need somebody, and I saw this recipe that if you dip Greek yogurt or like dip fruit in Greek yogurt, and then you freeze it,
Yeah,
and then you eat it, it tastes like cheesecake.
it does.
And I
I've
didn't
tried
know
it.
that. I never thought of that.
I love like tricking yourself into eating healthier with Greek yogurt. Like right before the podcast started, I was telling Ray about how when I really want to have yogurt in the morning, I can't really do the texture sometimes. I don't
Yeah.
know. Like soup, I will eat all day, every day.
Yeah.
Thin,
Good
thick,
soup.
Good soup.
Good soup.
Greek yogurt, I don't know. It freaks me out. I don't know how to explain it.
Yeah.
I just add like probably about a third of a cup. I don't really measure it.
Yeah.
Of like chocolate chips. And it's good. It
So
tastes like a chocolate
you'd be
covered strawberry.
surprised. There's a lot of yogurt in 1 cup.
There is.
In a cup of
Yeah.
yogurt, it's a lot of yogurt. I had a cup of yogurt today. It was 90 calories.
Wow.
Non-fat Greek strawberry yogurt. It was 90 calories, and I was satisfied.
Yeah.
It was like a good snack. I had that and a shot of espresso.
Hell yeah.
And a shot of espresso is 3 calories.
Wow.
Which I was very proud of. And it was funny because I logged it, and it didn't even show up in the
Really?
thing because it was 3 calories.
Yeah.
It's very good. Yeah, I like espresso. I'm perfectly fine with just having a shot of espresso with some, like, stevia
Oh yeah.
in it. Like, that's 3 calories.
Yeah.
I don't need a latte every time I want coffee.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm perfectly fine with just, I don't know, you can't see, but I have these little espresso mugs.
Oh, those are espresso mugs.
They're for espresso.
The last podcast, I sat here staring at them.
Yeah, they're for espresso. They're for
But they're
espresso.
like mini cups.
They're for a shot of espresso.
Yeah.
They
I was
say,
like, oh, those are cute
they're really
candles.
cute. They say hot stuff. That one says Deja Brew.
I love that.
And then I have one over there that says Rise and Grind.
Oh, that's iconic.
Yeah. Yeah. Eating healthy is very hard, though.
It's incredibly
It's very
difficult.
hard because there are a lot of times that when you eat healthy, you do feel like you have to cut things out, but
Yeah.
when you eat in moderation, it's so much better. Like I had, like if you're at a birthday party and there's a slice of cake, eat the damn cake. Like
Yeah.
you're at a birthday party.
Yeah,
Like just
exactly.
eat a slice of cake, and if you go over a calorie budget, it's one frickin' day.
Exactly.
Like it's fine. Like you don't have to torture yourself
Yeah.
and never have food.
and it takes a while to learn that.
Yeah.
And even like after you learn it, sometimes like you'll catch yourself being like,
Yeah.
do I really need it? And
Yeah.
it's no, but like You're gonna go home and be like, I wish I had that.
Yeah, the app says, like, it's not, like, you don't have to never eat for pleasure. Like, there can be foods that you eat just because they taste good.
I think that's
you know
really
what
important.
I mean? That's really important. It's important to not feel like you have to restrict yourself.
Exactly. Like,
because when I was restricting myself, that was feeding into my eating disorder.
Same.
So I found that it's much better to just eat in moderation. Instead of having 2 slices of cake, have 1.
Which is, like, as a person with a history of disordered eating, is really difficult in and of itself to learn.
Absolutely.
Especially, like we mentioned with the mental health stuff, going through grief. You and I both went through really, really intense bouts of grief. That can really bring up toxic behaviors towards food. And so it's really difficult to, after you've worked through it, after you've, in a sense, recovered from that disordered eating or eating disorder or whatever you want to call it, and you're in a good place, and then all of a sudden you're hit with this freight train of, like, depression or undiagnosed mental health issues or grief. You kind of have to completely relearn.
You kind of just have to, like,
be a sense of joy.
Yeah, you kind of just have to, like, rework the way you see it.
Absolutely.
You kind of have to, like, change the way you look at things.
Yeah.
Which can be really tough.
It can, because you really have to face a lot of stuff that you don't want to face. You know?
Absolutely.
You really have to sit back and be like, why am I doing this? Like, I know I have a really bad history of emotional eating. So, like, why was that what I learned to cope with? What can I replace that with?
Absolutely.
Which is so difficult.
Absolutely. Yeah, it can be tough, and I'm glad that I've found something that I feel like is genuinely helping me.
Yeah.
And also, it uses psychology, and it informs you. So I've learned a lot about, like triggers for food.
Yeah.
And, like, setting goals, and, like, they were saying, like, set a realistic goal. So, like, my goal is that, eventually, I'll hit my goal weight. That is my goal. That eventually I'll hit my goal weight.
Yeah, like,
and then they ask you why you're making the goal you're making, and they say, like, it shouldn't be about the way you look. So my goal is I want to hit my goal weight so I feel better. Yeah. I don't care if I'm skinny. I don't think I ever will be skinny.
I'm in the same boat as you. Absolutely.
And I don't care. I'm perfectly fine with being plus size, but I do want to be healthy. Exactly. And I do have high cholesterol. It's not crazy high, but it's a little bit higher than it should be. Yeah. And I want to be healthy. And I feel like if I hit my goal weight, there's a lot less things I have to worry about.
Exactly.
You know, especially with, like, heart problems have happened in my family before, and I want to make sure that I don't have to worry about that. Like, I want to make sure I can live a healthy, like, a long life. You know what I mean? So, you know, my grandma's 100.
A queen.
And I would like to live, not to 100, maybe 100, but I would like to live long enough that I could say I lived a full life.
You don't want to die before you get the chance.
Yeah.
That's like an absolute.
I want to live a healthy life. I don't want to have to be worrying about things my whole life.
Exactly.
So if I take care of it now while I'm in my 20s, it's a lot easier to take care of than when I'm older.
And the less damage it'll cause. Because while being plus size isn't a health issue within itself, it can, in certain cases, exacerbate
underlying yes,
Like, I have PCOS, and I recently
also have PCOS.
You're at, like, 50% higher chance of diabetes.
Yes.
You're at, like, 25% chance higher of,
for those of you who,
cardiovascular disease is what I'm thinking.
For those of you who don't know what PCOS is polycystic ovarian syndrome, and it basically means that we have benign cysts on our ovaries, which can cause hormonal issues.
Yes.
So weight gain, facial hair, acne.
I actually have the other type of PCOS. There are apparently 4 types. I don't remember.
Okay.
There's 4 types. I couldn't name them off the top of my head, but I personally, as far as I'm aware, we haven't done the scan, from what my doctor was telling me, and from what runs in my family, I don't actually have the benign cysts.
Okay.
I just have all of the hormonal issues that come along with it.
Okay.
At least that's as far as I'm aware.
Yeah,
and
no.
I have some friends who are in the same boat. You know?
Yeah, I get that. That's why when I hit puberty, I gained a ton of weight. And it was because of my PCOS.
No, I'm in the same boat. It was like...
I gained weight for no reason.
Yeah.
And it was... Now that I look back on it, it was because of my PCOS. And it didn't help that I had binge eating disorder for a while growing up.
That was my senior year of high school, absolutely.
As a kid, probably like 11 to like 14, I struggled with binge eating disorder. And I would go crazy. Yeah. And then 16 hit, and I started struggling with bulimia. And that was rough, and I was on and off with that until probably end of senior year. I was on and off with that. That was a good 2 or 3 years that I was struggling with that. So it's rough. And it's being plus sized is not a negative thing. It's not just the way you are.
Exactly. Some people are just born to have bigger bodies, and that's okay.
Yeah, and I'm plus sized. I have been for a long time.
So am I.
I'm fine with it.
Yeah.
But I do want to be healthy. I don't care if I'm skinny. I want to be healthy.
That's my thing, too.
I don't care if I'm plus-sized and healthy. Yeah. I just want to be healthy. I don't care how I look. Yeah. I don't care about being skinny. I mean, it would be nice to lose some weight.
Yeah.
But I'm not... my self-worth is not wrapped around it, and I don't care.
Yeah.
You know, like,
and that's also so important.
I'm not obsessed with being skinny.
Yeah.
I'm not.
Yeah.
But I do want to hit my goal weight because I know I'll feel physically better when I am at that weight. Yeah. I know health-wise it'll be better to be at a lower weight.
Yeah.
And I get that. But it's for health. It's not because of the way I look.
Yeah, it's not like
I can't stress that enough.
Exactly. I went through a period where I was like, I need to get back to my high school weight because I look back on pictures of me in high school.
Yeah.
And this also, like, speaks truth to, like, the idea that your worth can't come from your size. Because when I look back on pictures of myself from high school, I hated myself. There is no way to sugarcoat that. I thought I was the size of a beached whale. Yeah. I was so convinced that I was the ugliest and the fattest and the worst person ever.
Absolutely.
And now that I am plus size, I look back and I'm like, why did I think that way?
Yeah.
Why was being fat
when I was in high
school,
when I was at my lowest weight, I was miserable.
Same.
I was miserable. When I was at my lowest weight in high school, it was sophomore year of high school, and I was in the hospital.
Yeah.
I was miserable. Yeah. I was miserable.
Yeah.
My life
was in the same boat.
Nightmare.
Yeah.
I was depressed. I was suicidal at the time. I was in a hospital program because I needed the extra support.
Yeah.
It was intense. It was intense. But God bless my dad and my mom and my sister because they got me through it. I told you about the grilled cheese.
The grilled cheese.
My dad, every time I think of my dad or I have
my favorite story.
I so associate grilled cheese with my dad because my dad makes the best grilled cheese I've ever had in my life. Absolute best grilled cheese. It's a heart attack on a plate, but it's the greatest. It's the greatest grilled cheese I've ever had in my life. And when I was in high school and I was in the hospital, I was in a partial hospitalization program where I would come home at night, which is what I needed because I couldn't have been in the residential.
Yeah, residential.
I was in the program for 3 months, and I couldn't have been away from home for that long.
Yeah, no.
So my dad didn't really know how to help. So I would come home from group, or I would come home from the program, and I would have been in group, and I would say, this is really hard. Like, all these people have all these horrible situations, and I don't. And it's like, this kid's dad puts cigarettes out on him. Or like, this kid's mom snorts cocaine in front of him. And I'm like,
God.
And then there's me that's like, I don't know why I'm depressed. So it made me feel bad.
Yeah.
And my dad, I would come home and I would be upset, and my dad wouldn't know how to help. So he'd be like, he would make me a grilled cheese. And he would make me a grilled cheese. And if we had chocolate syrup, he would make me chocolate milk. And then usually that night he would make cookies, because my dad also makes amazing cookies.
That is wonderful.
So he would make me a grilled cheese, and I would have a grilled cheese for dinner, and then he'd be like, I got cookies in the oven. And I'd be like, okay, thanks.
Aww.
When I broke up with my boyfriend, It was the best thing to do, but it was also hard. And I was sad. And that night, my dad was like, I made cookies. And I was like,
Oh.
thanks, Dad. He was like, would cookies make you feel better? And I was like, yes. And so he made cookies. But my dad, and I think that has a lot to do with why I show love with food, honestly. When
My family and I are the same
I cook
way.
for people, I make lattes, I show love with food.
Yeah.
And I think it's because growing up, my dad would often not know how to help, and he couldn't because he's not a professional, he didn't know what to do.
Absolutely.
So he just did what he could, which was to make me feel better in the moment. So he would make me a grilled cheese, and he would make cookies, and that is something that I always remember when I think about my dad, and that was a good memory of that. But you know, it was helpful to have parents that were so willing to help me when I was struggling. Anytime I've ever struggled with my mental health majorly, my parents have always been like, what can we do? How do we help? We're here.
Yeah, I think that's
Like,
so important.
what do you need? And that was always the attitude they had. And I was very lucky because I know a lot of people whose parents are like, you're not depressed. You're not sad. You're fine. And then it's like, no, I am. And my parents never questioned whether I was depressed. They were always like, okay, this is how you're feeling. You can't change that. What can we do to help?
Yeah.
And it was always very helpful to me to hear them to be so willing to help me. And was your family like willing to help you?
Towards the end of high school, definitely.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I wasn't super open with them, so I can't fault them for that whatsoever.
Yeah, they can't really help if they don't know.
Exactly. They didn't know. My mom was super willing to put me in therapy. I went through a lot of bullying when I was younger. Yeah. So she put me in a therapy program.
Some parents are very apprehensive about therapy.
Absolutely.
Because a lot of the time, like, our parents' generation didn't go to therapy.
No.
They didn't go to therapy. That wasn't a thing they did. They toughed it out.
Exactly.
And that's not healthy. And now we know that. So more people now are going to therapy, but because it's such a generational difference, a lot of parents are like, you don't need therapy. And it's like, my parents put me in therapy when I was in like 1st or 2nd grade because I was being bullied and I was having behavioral problems because of the bipolar and the ADHD.
Yeah.
And I couldn't control my emotions, and they were hesitant to medicate me because and when I asked my dad, I was like, why did you take so long to medicate me? He was like, we didn't know a lot about it at the time, and we were worried that you would be a zombie. And he was like, you had a very outgoing, social,
and they didn't want to stifle that
personality. And they were like, we wanted you to be you. We didn't want you to be in a haze.
That's wonderful.
So they waited a while, but when I was probably in like 4th or 5th grade, I got put on a mood stabilizer. That's the best thing that they could have done.
Yeah.
I was too young to be diagnosed bipolar, but they were like, okay, well, you're having severe mood swings, so we'll give you a mood stabilizer. And that was great. But I've been in therapy since I was in like 1st, 2nd, 3rd grade.
Yeah, pretty much same.
And it's been very helpful throughout my life.
Absolutely.
And I'm seeing a therapist now. Her name is Jessica. She's a CBT therapist, so she does cognitive behavioral therapy, and that's been really helpful. That's been really helpful.
Yeah, I've heard CBT is incredibly
helpful. It's been really good. It's been really helpful for mood swings, anxiety, the breakup, trauma, like all that stuff she's been great. She's been really helpful about it. That's wonderful.
Yeah, my family was super I remember I went to therapy in high school, and I ended up stopping it. I just wasn't really ready. Yeah. And still, I'm really not in a place where every time we talk on the phone, like, here's every little thing that bothered me this week. I'm still not to that point. Yeah. But I remember I stopped, and then one night, I worked at the group home for a while, which is difficult work.
Yeah, that's tough.
It's tough. And I came home, and I was coming home, and every night I came home, my mom would sit there, and she would have a plate of her favorite carrot cake from Wegmans, which, if you like carrot cake and you haven't tried, you need to try. It's incredible. And we would sit and we would talk.
Oh, that's really sweet.
And I remember one of the patients that I had at the group home, or residents, I don't want to call them patients.
Yeah.
She passed away.
Oh, wow.
After like a long health issue. I won't get into it, but
it's rough.
my mom was just basically like, I don't want you to take this the hard way. I think you need to go back to therapy. And at first I was like, how dare you say that? What's wrong with me that you feel I need to go get help? And then I sat back and I was like, you know what? No, like, she's really right. Like, I'm not in a good place. I need to go seek therapy.
Yeah.
And I did. And now, like, I get on the phone with my therapist, Jen, like, once every 2 weeks. And she's like, how's the family? And I'm like, girl, let me spill the tea.
Yeah.
And it's wonderful.
That's the best place to do it.
Exactly.
Yeah. I have therapy once every 2 weeks. I was doing every week for a while, but I've been doing really good, and I have once every 2 weeks. And my issue was I was worried about my sense of security with therapists. I was worried about, like, when I got to a point that they were going to be like, you don't need therapy anymore.
That's scary.
And I was worried that they were going to be like, we're not going to do therapy anymore.
Yeah.
And I would still feel like I needed it.
Exactly.
So, because I'd had that happen before.
Oh, really? I know people who have had that happen as well.
Yeah. So, what I did was I told her that, and I said, I was like, listen, like, I get anxious that if I start feeling better, you're going to want to stop doing therapy.
Yeah.
I was like, I know I do better when I have somebody to talk to once a week or once every 2 weeks about little things that I'm thinking about. And she was like, I'm not going to terminate therapy until you want to terminate therapy.
That's really important.
And I was like, that helps me a lot.
That's so
I was like,
important.
that helps me a lot. So we see each other once every 2 weeks. We just talk about stuff. Sometimes it's just a quick check-in, but other times it's like a legit conversation. And it's been good. It's been really helpful. Yeah. It's been really helpful.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
Therapy's great. I personally think everybody should be in therapy.
100%. Even if you don't feel like you need therapy, just having somebody who's unbiased.
Everybody has something they want to talk about.
Exactly.
Everyone has something they want to talk about.
Even if you don't feel like you're ready, who knows when something's going to happen. Like, for me, I had my first session with Jen, and then the next session, she was like, how are you? And I was like, I don't know how to tell you this, but my mom died. And she was like, what? And having that, first of all, was really unexpected, because if I didn't already have a therapist, I probably wouldn't have sought it out.
Yeah,
I
probably
slowly
not.
became a hermit after that. I didn't do any of my classes. I wasn't seeing friends. The only person I was seeing was my boyfriend, and that was to make sure that he knew I was
That was
alive.
actually how we became better friends.
Yeah, it was.
We got some time, so let's tell the story of how we met.
Oh my god, I love the story.
We became friends probably a year. We really started hanging out like a year after we met.
Yes.
So basically what happened was I went to a frat party my fall semester of freshman year, and I was already depressed and I hated it. And my school does something called FYL, F-Y-L, which is a first year leader.
Yep.
And my first year leader was Leanna.
Oh, I love her.
Who is a friend of ours, who actually texted me the other day to say she wanted to get together with me. And I was like, absolutely. So I texted her, and I was like, listen, are you busy? And she was like, what's up? I was like, I just left a frat party, and I'm not feeling very good. And not even a minute later, she called me. I was like, where are you? You're coming over. And I was like,
she is literally the kindest and most caring person I've ever met.
I posted on Facebook the other day the memory of, like, that I had gone to her apartment that night. And she commented, I still remember running like a bat out of hell out of my apartment. And I remember she was in full mom mode, full protective mode.
Oh, yeah.
And she invited me over, and we sat in her apartment, and it was you, me, Marissa, Sarah, Kristen, and Adrian.
Christina.
Oh, Christina. Right.
I was like, Kristen.
Right, Christina.
Kristen.
No. I knew her name, but somebody I know used to call her Kristen.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so my brain went to what somebody used to say.
That's fair.
So, yeah, Christina and Adrian, and you were there.
I was there.
And
a fugitive.
I remember
Centenary.
you guys had gotten pizza. And Leanna was like, there's a couple slices left. Do you want pizza? And I was like, no, you guys ordered that. And she was like, eat the pizza. And I was like,
did
okay.
you eat yet? And you were like, no. And she was like, eat the pizza.
She was like, eat the pizza. And I was like, damn, okay. So I had to eat the pizza. So I was eating pizza, and I was sitting next to you, and Adrian was playing video games.
Yep.
And I looked over at you, and you were wearing these, like, flowy pants.
I was.
I remember saying, like, I love your pants. You were like, thanks! I got them at Torrid. And I was like, oh, I love Torrid. And we started talking about Torrid.
Yes.
And then Leanna actually said to me, like, how's the situation with your roommate going? Because I was having a lot of issues with my roommate. She scorched earth me in our friend group because she moved out. Apparently her mom convinced her that because I was crying a lot and I'm bipolar that I was dangerous. So she moved out and told our entire friend group that I was dangerous.
Oh my god!
So they wouldn't hang out with me anymore.
You're kidding.
One of them got a no contact order on me, so I couldn't be in the same room as them. Yeah.
What?
Yeah. So I was upset, and I remember Leanna being like, how's that going? And I was like, honestly, I'm just finding other friends.
Yeah.
And you were like, what happened? And I explained it to you. I was like, my roommate moved out, my friends and our friend group has stopped hanging out with me. And I remember you said to me, you said, where is she? I'll throw myself on the ground in front of her, so when she trips over me and falls, I'll be like, you didn't see me?
Yeah.
And I remember you saying this to me.
We only known each other like 20 minutes.
Maybe 20 minutes. And I started crying laughing.
Yeah.
Because it was the nicest thing anyone had ever said to me. And also the weirdest thing anyone had ever said to me.
Like, of all things for me to choose,
and I was like,
rolling on the ground.
Yeah, and I was like, okay, I love you. And I remember saying to you, I was like, oh my god, I love you. And you were like, I love you too, I can tell. And I was like, okay. So, I saw you a couple times after that, but it wasn't a lot.
Yeah.
And then COVID hit, and then probably the fall semester started of my sophomore year, and I thought enough time had passed. I had seen that you had talked about your mom, and I saw that enough time had passed, so I texted you, and I said, hey, I just wanted to let you know, I saw that you lost somebody. I'm going through grief right now, too. I get it. If you ever want to get together and talk, I'm here.
Which, honestly, like, I've never said this, but I lost a lot of people after everything happened. With the way they reacted, with the way that they treated me. I kind of felt like I became, like, just the sad friend. Like, no one took it seriously. And the people who did stay didn't get it. You know, like, my boyfriend is the most wonderful and patient person I've ever met. But he didn't quite get it. Nobody does.
Yeah.
Who trains you to know how to deal with your friend who loses a parent at the age of 19?
You don't get it.
You reaching out, literally, I remember being like, oh my god, this is the best thing anybody could have done for me. It, like, took a weight off my shoulders. I was like, I have somebody.
Yeah.
Like, that feels so good.
And then we started hanging out, and it was like we got together over Christmas break.
Yeah.
And I think we had coffee.
Yes.
And we just talked about grief for a while.
Yeah.
And I remember we sat in a coffee shop for a while just talking about grief. And then after that we started hanging out more, which was really fun. And then now you're just one of my best friends, and I just adore you. And I remember, and you came out to see me a couple times this summer, which I really appreciated because some of my friends were just so busy, and then I texted you and you were like, I'm busy, but I'm coming, and I was like, okay. So I very much enjoy hanging out with you, but
it's so much fun.
That was kind of how we became closer, was just me understanding grief and knowing it's really hard, and just reaching out and being like, listen, like, I see what you're going through, I'm here if you need anything, let me know if you want to talk, I get it.
Yeah.
And I remember you really appreciating that. And we started talking a lot on Facebook. We started talking on Messenger a lot.
Yeah.
And I remember we started talking about a lot of stuff. I remember I met my boyfriend, my ex, and I remember he was a great person, a big upgrade from my first relationship.
Yeah.
And I remember telling you that, and you were like, oh, this is so good!
I was so excited.
And then I remember telling you when things were starting to go south with that, too.
Yeah.
And I remember, like, explaining how I was feeling, and you being like, dump his ass. And I was like, oh, okay.
We don't have time for nasty men who don't put in the effort. We
Yeah.
don't have that.
And it's not to say he was a bad person, because he wasn't.
No, he
was
seemed
not a
like
bad
an
person.
absolutely wonderful person.
Yeah.
But
It's
also,
just-
it is my job as the best friend
Yeah, absolutely.
to be like, dump him.
My problem was that my ex was very kind of a recluse.
Yeah,
And I'm
that's hard
very
to deal with.
social, and when I
Yeah.
wanted him to meet my friends, it was a fight. And that was really
Yeah.
hard. And there was not as much effort being put in on his end as there was on mine. So that was tough too. So that was why the relationship ended. But it was never that he was a bad person.
Absolutely.
But I just remember you being like, "Dump this," and I was
Yeah.
like, okay. And then I did, and I remember telling you, I was like, yeah, like, I broke up with him. And I think 2 days later, you texted me, and you said, like, hey, I'm off work, I'm coming to get you. And I was
Yeah.
like, why? And you were like, because. And I was like, okay. And we went out, and you were like, spill it. And we just talked about it.
Yeah.
And that was really helpful for me,
Yeah.
and that was really nice. And I just appreciate you very much.
I appreciate
So-
you.
But, yeah. I didn't do a lot of healthy eating at that point.
Yeah.
Ate a lot of chocolate and
I feel
ice
that.
cream.
I feel
And
that.
I drank a lot.
Yeah.
That sounds bad, but it was just like my friends came over a couple of nights.
Sometimes you just need.
Yeah, it was just my friends came over a couple of
Yeah.
nights, and it wasn't like I was going crazy. We were sitting in my living room watching movies and drinking cocktails.
Yeah.
And that was it. But it happened
It's
quite
so
a bit.
therapeutic.
It was very therapeutic. Yeah, it was very nice. We have hit our time.
We have.
It has been an hour and 5 minutes.
Oh my god.
So, yeah. So, clearly this podcast is going to be very easy to film,
Yeah.
to record each week.
Absolutely.
Because that felt like maybe we were sitting here for 20 minutes.
Maybe at
Maybe 20
most.
minutes, yeah. So, we hope you enjoyed this episode. This was more about mental health than the last one
Yeah,
was.
we weren't expecting it to be so.
I wasn't
mental
expecting
health
it to be
centered,
such
but I'm very
a-
glad we covered it.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So, we hope you'll tune in next week for the Mildly Unstable podcast. And, any final thoughts?
Maybe think about going to therapy if you haven't.
If you haven't,
and
it's
if
a
you
great
need
thing.
help, seek it.
You don't need to have a big thing to go to therapy. You could just be like, I just want
Absolutely.
somebody to talk to.
Yeah.
That's great. That's a great reason to go to therapy.
Exactly. And sometimes even if you need to stare at your therapist and you have nothing to say. Like, I know my therapist, when we do that, she's like, here's a board game, let's play Uno. And I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm gonna kick your butt!
Yeah. You're gonna need therapy after this.
Can you imagine?
I'm gonna beat you so hard. You're gonna need
to seek therapy.
You're gonna need your own therapist. Yeah. So we hope you enjoyed, and be on the lookout for future episodes.
Absolutely.
Have a good one, you guys.
Have a good week.